They'll be calling you a radical. I want to take some time and say thanks. Thank you so much to our sister Madeline Rice. And I want to talk a little bit of that about this. I want to say thank you to so many great activists. This anti-nuclear fight of ours and this cause that we're all in for so long is this beautiful interview with the New York Times with our sister Madeline Rice. Wow, what statement she makes. And I want to say thank you to Lonnie Clark, because she started a campaign calling Rachel Maddow. We called Rachel Maddow constantly. She called her relentlessly, called her Tokyo Rose. Well, it worked, Lonnie. Rachel Maddow invited Megan. Thank you, Rachel Maddow. Thank you for having her on. And, you know, thank you to Madeline Rice. Thank you to Greg Michael. I want to say this specifically, too. She said that there was no call came into the prison. You know, some people tried to deflect me. I was at the prison many times at Brooklyn. Tried to, oh, she's not even there, but she was there the whole time. It shows you what we're up against. It's like you go to Fukushima breaking news and they got this Chris dude placed up at the top. He's a French. He works for the French government, whatever. And then you go to his site and it shows videos of Bigfoot. That's what we're up against. The relentless, I mean, they don't stop on every angle. All my mentors and all me as an activist, and it's a tough road to hoe, and you know, Megan's done enough. Greg and Michael have done enough, as she says in that interview so perfectly. Everyone has to do their part. You know, I don't do this just because this is my place. I do this because this is my calling? Absolutely. You know, and Sister Buckley, who I sat with, you know, Megan, thank you so much. You know, thank you to all of them, but we all need to do our part. But I want to take some time and say thank you to all that, and to Greg and Michael and Megan. I want people to know, and them to know, because how can they know? She didn't get a call from an attorney. She didn't get a call from anybody. She heard it on her transistor or her radio in the prison at 3 a.m. on the BBC that she'd been released. You know, and she was lucky enough to make a phone call to call her family right there to come get her. What a heavy price, but you know, look at the way she goes. I knew Megan's mom very well. And I gotta say, you know, I knew Stegner, Aberdabi, all these people that got me into this movement at a young age. You know, of course, my father, Carol Gallagher, who, you know, was halfway raised by Megan, who I have so much respect for because she wrote American Ground Zero. And Madeline Rice, because nobody stood up for my dad, the atomic veterans, their human lab right in the valley. Everybody says, oh, they're crazy, whatever. They fought when it was so out of vogue and so contrarian to anybody's brain in the 70s. Oh, you're all crazy, you're all They stood up and they defended. So many people, I want Greg and Michael and Megan to know, your message got out much more than maybe you know. This message flowed across. I stayed relentless on it. You know, at the trial, whatever, and we got it out in our network. It went everywhere. Millions and millions of people. Because of our work, a lot of people's work. Your message was heard big time, and I know for a fact, because I've been told this by a lot of people, you motivated so many people. You made it so young people had no clue about this. Madeline Rice's story, I know for a fact, because I get this email constantly. I get this phone call, Kevin, you turned me on to Madeline Rice, I had no idea, and now I'm an anti-nuclear. I didn't, when they were never. Kids, I've had people call me up with their kids, say, thank you, Kevin, for telling us about Sister Madeline Rice. We had no, so your message was powerful, your action was powerful, and, you know, you've done enough. You've done enough. I mean, that was brutal. I'm so relieved that you're out. I'm so relieved to all of you, and I'll go to the IAA. I'm headed to Europe to do my gig, my action. You know, and I want young activists to know, you don't need to go to jail, as Megan says. It just kind of led her there and just kind of happened. We have the law on our side. We have the truth on our side. We have the economics on our side. Nuclear energy and nuclear bombs are the exact same thing. She says it perfectly. We're not trying to destroy the industry. We want the industry to pivot and do something good. You know, they would have to add jobs if we pivoted to get rid of this stuff. This would be a bolster of the economy, not a, you know, and get rid of the fraud, get rid of the corruption, get rid of the evil death, get rid of all that is bad, which is nuclear. Pivot, as she says so perfectly. She gets it. How could she not get it? Look who raised her. Madeline Rice is the greatest anti-nuclear activist in the world, bar none. Bar none. She was magnificent. I'll tell you what, she moved me long before I ever got cancer. And so I want to take some time to everybody who, Megan Rice Facebook page, and Megan Rice, Greg and Michael, Thomas Ackermann. You know what she sacrificed? His art sells for $15,000 and $100,000 a painting. Had an incredible life as an artist. I mean, he started painting this and went all in. Support of Greg and Michael, the anti-nuclear, because he says it's the only fight to fight. How much has he paid? The museums have blackballed. The museums have blackballed me. Well, it cost me my academia career. I got railroaded out of the #1 school. Of course, they're not #1 anymore. Because I don't care about that. Because I was taught by the likes of Sister Megan Rice's mom, Madeline Rice, and these people. I know, I get it. It took me a long time to get there. It takes a long time to get there. This isn't about profit, about money, about popism. This is about what she says it perfect in the Rachel Maddow interview. Perfect. We should be all doing our part. I just was led just doing what I was supposed to do, what I was called to do. Everyone should do their part. That's all. And a lot of people have done their part. Thank you, Lonnie. You think those calls for Rachel Maddow mattered? Oh boy. Oh boy. I think it's awesome. And I want people to know, if you don't think we're making a difference, I travel around the country. I'm everywhere. You would not believe people that come up to me. People come up to me with their little kids and want their kids to meet me and whatever, and they talk about Sister Megan Rice. I don't want this to fall off the tripod. We get a little breeze. I want people to know that what you're doing is working. Don't get discouraged. We're fighting the good fight. Everybody. I mean, there's thousands in this fight. And she said it perfectly. We all need to do our part. And everyone. And my path, like her path. My calling, oh please. My father, human lab rat in the Nevada test site, watched him die. Then the girl I was in love with, grew up in Ukraine, the Femen girl before it was Femen. Watched her die. My place, my time, and then me ranting, raving, Fukushima, gonna give you leukemia, then me getting leukemia, being an anti-nuclear, it's gonna give you leukemia, then I get it, give it no chance to live. 2 months to live. This is about hope and survival. I always like to use Scarborough Fair, that old, beautiful piece of Scottish poetry that those New York boys redid so perfectly, so beautifully. Terra Somia, Cameric shirt. That song's about, you love me, it's impossible, prove it. Yeah, well, we have to prove to Mother Earth that we still love her, even though these nuclear cartels are killing the Pacific Ocean. And I want to talk a little bit real quickly about the wells. There's been times where there's been lots of grays wash up dead in an outbreak or a spill or whatever, but not sperm whales. No, and this is at least 3 that we know of, and orcas. They're just, again, as Megan Rice says so perfectly, these diseases, it's knocked everything out of sync. What part of Fukushima do people not get? My game and my activism, gonna slow down? No, it's gonna amp up. I go like this constantly until it's over. Greg and Michael and Megan have done enough. And I want the young activists to know you don't have to go to jail. When you go to these facilities, you can videotape right up to the fence. You can't touch a fence. You have to turn your cameras once you go inside the facility. You don't need to break in. She did that. She did that for us. That's been done. And and by the way, overcharged, overzealous, over freaking sentencing on Balco. So that's been done. We don't have to break the law. We have the truth on our side. This is, as she said, it's evil, it's illegal. It's illegal. We signed the international law. Reagan signed it. It's just like you're trying to with these little reactors all over in the wind. You need a congressional act. Well, go get it. Of course, we know how Congress is playing with TPP, trying to backdoor American law. But to all the activists out there, and I want Greg, Michael, and Megan to know this. I'll see you one of these days down the road, or I'll see you on the other side. It doesn't matter. My activism doesn't ever stop. Not for 1 minute, for 1 day. Because like she said, it's her calling, it's my calling. Thank you for what you did. And more eyes were on you than you think. Big time. You know, I moved this message hardcore. A lot of people did. You know, and I want to know because people come up to me. I get this hundreds and hundreds of emails. Kevin, if it wasn't for you, I would never known about Sister Madeline Rice. If it wasn't for Sister Madeline Rice, me and my children would never become anti-nuclear. And because of her, we are anti-nuclear. And not only that, we are active in the anti-nuclear. And I'm telling you what, it started out as a flicker. So you know, I want them to know that they were heard. And their actions did motivate people. And, you know, Lonnie Clark making her calls to Rachel. You know, the filmmaker, you know, that's going to make the documentary that he's working with her. Right on, you know. Keep moving this message. We got a little flame going. Let's turn this into a major bonfire. Like I said, transform this. Turn this freaking ship of fools around. Crazy train gone off the rails. You know that song? That's what that's about, Crazy Train. That's why I wrote it. Tiny ship of fools. Turn this ship around back to our loving ground. Stand tuned.